pearl? Does anybody know what a pearl is? Just put your hand up if you know what a pearl. Put your hand up. All right, who's not calling out? You're not calling out. You're going to tell me what a pearl is? A little girl there. Yes, you. A shell. Well, it comes in a shell. You're quite right. It comes in a shell like this. A beautiful shell. These are two halves of one whole. So when you find them under the water, what kind of water do you think they live in? The sea, of course, the sea. And the two halves are stuck together like that. And then they're stuck very firmly. So you need a, what's this? It's a knife. You need a knife to open the shell. And if you're very, very lucky, forgot to open these. If you're very, very lucky, you might find a pearl inside. And this is what a pearl looks like. That's a pearl. So who wears pearls? Does your mum? You don't wear pearls. Maybe you wear pearls on your crown sometimes. Does your mummy wear pearls? Well, if you're very, very lucky, when you find an oyster shell like this and you open it with a knife like this, if you're really, really lucky, there might be a pearl inside. And long ago, yes, I think you've got diamonds. Long ago, used to dive into the sea to collect those shells. And this is what they used to wear. Where do you think that's going to go? Is it going to go on my head? No. Is it going to go around my arm like a handbag? No. It's going to go around my neck. If I was a diver, I would put shells in my basket. And when I go under the water, I don't want any water to go up my nose. So what do you think this is for? Where am I going to put it? That's right, on your nose. On your nose like this. So the water doesn't go up my nose. And so that I go to the bottom very quickly, because I'm going to hold my breath while I collect the shells. Oh, I'm going to put a very heavy weight around my ankle. And what do you think heavy weight will do when I leave go of the boat? It'll make me go into the water very, 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 very quickly. And so I won't waste any time holding my breath. I'll get to the bottom quickly and I'll gather as many shells as I can find, oyster shells. And that's how the divers used to collect oysters and pearls in days gone by. Now, if you went diving today, you'd wear a wetsuit. And what are these? Do you know what they're called? Swimming flippers. Swimming flippers. That's right. On his eyes. Whoops. What's he got on his eyes? Glasses. What do you call them? Do you know? Goggles. Have you got 3 feet? And right, put your fingers on your lips for a minute while I tell you something. So on his back, he's got a tank of air, and he can stay under the water for a long time. But in the old days, the divers just had a peg on their noses, a basket round their necks, and a heavy weight on their ankles. And they had to hold their breath. Can you? While they collected shells. And sometimes, do you know what there was under the water? What are things with long tentacles called? Blobby things with long, wavy tentacles. Yes, jellyfish. Well done, you. And just what can jellyfish do? What will it, what? Sting you. So the divers sometimes wore a cotton suit. There's lots of animals in the water, aren't there? Okay, I'm going to tell you the story now. Are you ready? For Aisha's Pearl. All right, it's a big story. Well, it's a story in a book, a small book like this that you can take to bed or show your mummies and your daddies. But I have put my story onto big boards so that you can see it clearly. All right, this is Aisha. Are you ready for the story? Aisha, she's called Aisha. Look what I found, cried Aisha, running into the house. She held out her hand. Her fingers were curled around something small. Guess, she told her brother Abdullah, who was building a space station. A feather, he said, without looking. Aisha shook her head. Guess, she told her sister Mosa, who was playing on her tablet. A leaf, she said, without looking. Can we be Aisha? Aisha shook her head. Guess, she told her mother. What do you think her mother's doing? Cooking. A shell, she said, without looking. Aisha, what did she do? Shook her head. The little girl wandered away to her secret place under the table. And who do you think found her there? Do you know who this is? It's her grandfather. I've been looking for you, he told her. Aisha smiled and crawled out from under the table. She held out a small closed fist. What do you think she said to grandfather? She didn't open it. She said, guess, she told him. Give me a clue, said grandfather. Aisha thought for a moment. It's round and smooth. A pebble, grandfather guessed. Oh no, more special, she said, and shiny. Can you think of anything round and shiny? What? Well, grandfather said a marble. Aisha shook her head. It's white, she told him. Round and smooth, white and shiny, and special. Here's grandfather. What's he doing? What's he doing here? Relaxing. What a good word. That's a wow word, I think, don't you? Yes, he's relaxing. How do you know? What's he done? He's closed his... Well, actually, he's closed his eyes to think. But Aisha thought he'd fallen asleep. She tapped him gently. Look, she said, and opened her hand. And what do you think was inside her hand? A pearl, a beautiful, round, smooth, white and shiny pearl lay on her palm. Goodness me, grandfather exclaimed. This is very special indeed. Where did you find it? Inside a shell, Aisha told him. In a rock pool. She felt in her pocket for the shell. Lucky you, grandfather said. Pearls are difficult to find nowadays. An oyster would have lived in this shell, he told her. Have you ever seen one? Have you? Have you? Well, Aisha shook her head. Look, she's holding it in the shell. An oyster is soft, Grandfather said. And if a grain of sand gets into its shell and tickles it, the oyster makes a pearl round it. Wow, isn't that clever? The longer it stays in the shell, the bigger the pearl grows. Oh, how long was my pearl inside the shell? Aisha asked. A few years, I should think. It's quite big and it's a beautiful colour, Grandfather said. I think you found a treasure. A pearl diver would have been very happy. Put your hand down for a minute, okay? Long ago, before the discovery of oil, the men who lived here in the Arabian Gulf would go out to sea to dive for pearls, just like I showed you. It was tough, a life full of hardship and danger. Why? Aisha asked. Her father loved to go diving, but he wore a wetsuit, a mask, and what did he wear on his feet, do you think? Flippers. Why? Aisha asked. Grandfather smiled. He took his sketchbook down from the shelf. Oh, look, Grandfather can draw. And he's drawing a pearl diver in his book. There was no fancy equipment, he told her, just a peg on your nose and a heavy stone on a rope to take you down to the seabed as fast as possible. No tank of air. A pearl diver had to hold his breath while he collected the oyster shells. When he couldn't hold it any longer, he tugged on a rope to tell his partner on the deck to pull him up. Have you been pearl diving? Aisha asked. Grandfather shook his head. No, but my father went to sea and dived for pearls, and sometimes he'd tell me stories about those days. Oh, please, will you tell me one, Grandfather? Aisha asked. The old man stroked his chin. Let's see, he said. So here's the story that he's telling her. And what do you think happened in the story? Can you see something? A shark! Oh my goodness. Some of the divers found an old shipwreck, but they didn't know that a shark was living there, and it chased them. Did they get away? Aisha asked. Grandfather nodded, but not before the shark sunk its teeth into a diver's leg. Oh, and then? Aisha gasped. My father punched it on the nose and the shark let go. But things didn't always end well. Sometimes there were sea urchins and rays which could give you a nasty sting, but they wore cotton suits to protect them when the jellyfish were around. Here's another of Grandpa's pictures. There were good times too, Grandfather told her. The men helped each other. They lived together like brothers, slept under the stars and sang songs and shared stories. And sometimes the captain gave a diver who found a really special pearl a reward. And eventually, when Allah answered their prayers, they went back to their families at the end of the season, and they had a big feast to celebrate their safe return. Did your mother go pearl diving as well? Aisha asked. Do you think ladies went pearl diving? They didn't. Grandfather chuckled. It was no place for a woman, he said. Besides, my mother had more than enough work to do at home. But Aisha wasn't so sure. She thought she would have made a jolly good pearl diver. She could see herself diving deeper than anyone else and bringing up the very best pearl of all. Look, there's her dream. So when Grandfather went for his nap, Aisha had an idea. But first, she had to find some things. Do you ever play games of acting and dressing up and being someone else? So Aisha decided she was going to be a pearl diver and go pearl diving. So what do you think she needed? What did she need if she was going to go pearl diving like the old pearl diver? What do you think she needed? What could she find to put on her nose? A what? A clip. Well, what does your mum hang the washing out with? Clothes pegs. Look, here's a good one. And here's another one. So she found a clothes peg to put on her nose. And what do you think she found to put round her ankle to take her down to the sea as fast as possible? A heavy weight. Well done. That's an excellent idea. She went to the garden and she found a heavy rock. And she tied some rope round it. And then she took everything to her secret place. Do you know what her secret place was? Do you remember? Under the table. You're listening very carefully. She took everything to her secret place under the table. She took her mum's beautiful blue shiny tablecloth. What do you think that could be? What could it be? For a whatty? It could be, what colour's the sea? Blue. Blue. So this could be the sea. So she pulled it under the table and she turned it into what looked like waves. Shall we put it there so you can see it properly? All right. That's right. And then she hid the oyster shell. Whoa. Oh, who's going to give it back to me? Thank you. Don't keep my treasures, will you? Thank you. So she put the pearl inside the shell and she hid it amongst the creases in the tablecloth like that. And then she put her ankle through a loop that she made in the rope and she put a clothes peg on her nose. And then she saw a great big box. What do you think the box could be? What could she use the box for? Yes, so what do you row? A car? Do you row a car? Well, I've never seen anybody rowing a car. A boat, that's right. So she pulled a great big cardboard box underneath the table and she stepped inside and she pretended she was in a boat. Shall we all get up and pretend? Yes. Let's all get up and pretend. So stand up where you are. Stand up in your place. Okay. And you're in your boat. And first of all, you're going to get out of the boat and hold on to the side. And can you pretend to put a peg on your noses? That's right. And then what else do we need? What else have we got? Are we all ready for going down deep into the water? So let go of the rope and the stone will take you down into the water. But first of all, take a great big deep breath. And down we go. Gradually blowing out. Can you feel for the shells? All right, put them in the imaginary basket round your neck. That's right. Very good. Collect the shells. Can you feel them? Oh, I can feel one. Oh, put them in your basket. And then when you can't breathe any longer, tug the other rope and the man in your boat will pull you up. Up you come. And climb back into your boat. Very good. Now you can sit down again. Well done. That was brilliant. So she had to find things, just like we said. So she found a rope in Papa's shed. She found a rock from the garden. There. She found a peg to put on her nose, like you said, and a big cardboard box and her mother's shiny blue tablecloth. And then she began to dive. Soon the tablecloth became the sea and the box a boat. Aisha hid the shell with the pearl inside it amongst the creases in the blue tablecloth. She sat inside the box and put the peg on her nose, just like you did. She tied the rope round the rock and jumped overboard into the sea of blue tablecloth. Holding her breath, she swam amongst imaginary fishes. Avoiding sharp rocks and giant clams and fiery tails of rays, she gathered the shells from the seabed. And when she couldn't hold her breath any longer, she swam to the surface and climbed back into her boat. She opened the shell. Can we all open our shells? Can we all open our shells? Imagine you've got a knife and you're pushing it into the shell and opening it up. And there's your pearl. Hold it up. Hold it up. Wow! She held it up and she could hear all the divers cheering. Shall we shout hooray? Hooray! She was right. She made an excellent pearl diver. After a few more dives, she felt sleepy. And so what do you think she did? That's right. She curled up inside her boat with the pearl clutched in her hand, and she closed her eyes just for a little nap. But soon she was fast asleep. That's right. She didn't hear her mother calling her name. She didn't hear her sister Mosa, and she didn't hear her brother Abdullah. I know where she'll be, said. Who do you think said that? Grandfather. Grandfather knew where she was. When Aisha woke up, she found 4 faces with 4 pair of eyes looking at her. We've been worried, said her mother. We've been calling you, said Abdullah. We couldn't find you, said Mosa. But Grandfather smiled. Did you have a good trip? He asked. And Aisha nodded. She held out her hand and uncurled her fingers. Look, she cried. Look what I've found. And that's the end of the story. Thank you so much for joining in. You were really good divers, and some people remembered so many things, didn't they? I think this person here deserves a... Do you get stickers?
We're going to ring the superstar bell.
Oh, ring the superstar bell.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was phenomenal.
Yes. Can the rest of you remember the story? What did Aisha, what did she want to be? A diver. That's right. She wanted to be a diver. She didn't see why a girl couldn't dive, did she? No. Because she thinks girls should be able to do everything. I think girls should be able to do everything too, don't you? And when she held the pearl in her hands and told her mum to guess, did they guess right? Did they guess right? No. No. Did her sister guess right? No. Did her brother guess right? Did her grandfather guess right? No. And she gave him some clues. Do you remember what the clues were? Do you? Can you remember a clue? What did she tell grandfather about her treasure? Yes, it's what? It's white and shiny. And it's not gold, is it? No, it's smooth and small. It's a pearl, that's right. And pearls are worth a lot of money. They're very good treasures to find. Have you ever found a treasure?
Yeah, I found.
Who's found a treasure? Put your hand up if you found a treasure. Okay, can you remember what it was? Can you remember what the treasure was that you found? You found a pearl, did you? What did you find?
I found
A starfish. That's a treasure, isn't it? Yes. What did you? Just a minute. Let's have hands up. What did you find? You found a shell, a special shell. Did you keep it?
I found
A dolphin. Well,
a
that is a wonderful thing to see, isn't it? But you can't keep a dolphin. You can't keep a starfish either. What did you find?
a starfish.
A swordfish. So were these some of the creatures you saw in the sea? Or have you seen them perhaps in the aquarium? Who's been to the aquarium? And did you see all sorts of special things there? Does anybody have a box which they keep their special treasures in?
Yes, I got the box.
I do too. I like special treasures. Yeah. Do you know what? My big grandson found a very special treasure in our stream. Where I live in England, we live by a stream. And one day he found a dirty green glass old bottle. And in the glass, it said, poison. Woo! I thought that was a really special treasure. I wanted it, but he found it, so I had to let him keep it. But it was very, very old. So if you keep your eyes open, you can look for treasure. Then you could maybe draw pictures and tell a story about your treasure, couldn't you? You could turn your treasure into a story. And does anybody here have a special grandpa or grandma, or are they all special?
I got a special grandfather.
Do you? And do you like spending time with your special grandfather?
Yes.
Yes. Aisha obviously thinks her grandfather's very special and she has all sorts of special time with him. And I think I'm going to write some more stories about her. Do you think that would be a good idea?
Yeah.
Yes. I've just written another one, so I hope that they like it and will turn it into a book for me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening and sharing my story today. And I hope I can see you again.
What do we need to say?
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a beautiful story. And I'm so proud of you all. You sat beautifully.
They
You were
did.
answering questions. You were using your listening ears. Did you enjoy the story?
Yeah.
And you know what we did today? We actually, all of us were authors today as well.
Were you?
Can anyone remember what we called our story?
Kasha.
No, not our story, the story that we wrote together. Shaker, can you remember about the fairy and the tree? Yeah, we found the fairy in the tree.
Wow.
And who helped the fairy?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Gosh, that's a fantastic story. Lovely. Well done, everybody. I think you should give yourselves a clap.
Big clap, guys. Okay. We have to go back to the classroom now, like the sensitive.
You'll be authors and illustrators too, because that's what we call the person who draws the pictures, an illustrator. And the story I'm going to tell you today is called Where Is Everyone? And this story has a very special illustrator. She's called Emily, and she is my daughter. And she drew all the pictures in this story. And maybe one day you might make a book with a friend. One of you write the story and the other draw the pictures. How would that be? That would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Now, this story was inspired by COVID, do we? Nope, because it just gets in our way, doesn't it? But do you remember lockdown? Do you remember? Because it was at least a year ago now, wasn't it? Maybe more. Yeah, even longer, I think. And in lockdown, what do we have to do? Stay at home to keep safe. And during lockdown, when everybody was hidden away in their houses, the streets were empty. And so some creatures came to have a look round. Who's that? It's not a duck.
It's a crocodile.
Yeah, it's an alligator. It's an alligator. What have we got here? It's a wolf or a coyote. Yeah. And these are all real, true pictures. So when everybody was stuck in their houses, the animals came out of their hiding places. They came out of the forests. They came out of their caves. And they came out of the fields. And they came into the city to see what was going on. Here's a kangaroo having a look round. And some great big, yes, sort of, I think they're sheep with horns, and wild pigs called hogs. Yes. Look, they had a good time. What are the sheep doing there? Playing on a roundabout. Now, these pictures you see, they gave me an idea for a story. And of course, every story starts with a good idea. A good idea. So I began to think, I wonder what the animals here are doing. I wonder what the camels are thinking. I wonder if the camels are asking themselves, where have all the people gone? Where have our trainers gone? Why aren't we racing anymore? And I started thinking about a little boy and his camel and how they all love to go racing. Have you ever been to a camel race? No, you should do. Before you leave here, you should take your parents to a camel race. And this is a camel caravan. And I thought, ooh, perhaps those camels are coming to town. Perhaps they're coming into Dubai to find out what's happened to the humans. And then I thought maybe they'd be joined along the way, because where do camels live? In the desert. Excuse me, in the desert. So maybe I thought, as they come from the desert to the town, maybe they're joined by some of the local animals. Yeah, do you know what this is?
It's a kind of fox.
It is, it's a desert fox. Who knows what this is? Yes?
A deer.
A sort of a deer. It's called an oryx. Yes, special to this part of the world. A donkey. A deer or gazelle. What about this little chap? A hedgehog. Yeah, a hedgehog. A sand cat. A sand cat. You may have seen some of these animals, but others are too shy and they only come out when people aren't around. A bunny. Do you know what we call a bunny with long ears? It's a hare. A hare. And this one, what does he look like?
I know that animal.
He's not an anteater and he's not a skunk, because skunks, yeah?
It looks so familiar, but I don't know its name.
Well, he's called a honey badger. A honey badger.
I knew it's a badger.
So I thought, right, I'm going to write a story about COVID times, about lockdown, and about a group of animals that come to town looking for their owners, for their trainers. So, are we ready for the story?
Yes.
Need my glasses, I think. So, here they all are. Yes, that's the cover picture. So, here they are. The camels were bored. It's been weeks since we've seen a person, they grumbled. Where have our trainers gone? When are we going to race again? What about a beauty contest? We haven't had one for ages and ages, and we haven't had any singing or dancing. This was true. No weddings, no festivals, no celebrations, not even a group of tourists to ride on their backs. We may not be beauty queens or racing champions, but at least we're strong and our humps aren't saggy, one of them said. But what about the humans? What can have happened to them? Where's Ali? Whispered the littlest camel. I wonder which one's the littlest. Do you think it's that one? Yes. They looked at their leader. The oldest camel was thoughtful. Let's go to the city and find out. So, off they set to the city. They could see the tall buildings sticking up in the sky in the distance. Hello, said a voice. A little desert fox with very big ears appeared. Where are you going? We're going to the humans. Haven't you noticed there haven't been any around for weeks? The little fox nodded. It is quiet, he said. Well, don't you think that's strange? It's peaceful, the fox replied. May I come with you? Of course. Would you like a ride? Can you see what the fox is riding on? A camel's back. Will we find Ali soon? The littlest camel squeaked. A bit further on, they met a honey badger. Where are you going? He asked the camels. We're off to the city to find out what's happened to the humans. Oh, may I come with you? Will we find Ali soon? Said the littlest camel. Before long, an oryx joined them, and then a donkey, and soon a gazelle and a hedgehog. Can you see the hedgehog?
Yeah. So much animals.
So many animals. Even a shy little sandcat joined them. A hare stopped in his tracks and stared at them. Where are you off to? He asked. We're going to the city to find out
Where the humans are.
I've always wanted to go to the city, said the hare. May I come with you? And he took a great big leap and landed on a camel's back, on a camel's hump, in fact. You're quite right. The camels drew near to the city. There was barely a sound to be heard apart from birds singing. What would you normally expect to hear when you come to the city? Screaming, screeching,
Driving.
doot, 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 horns hooting.
I see it both times.
The sky was clear and blue. The air was pure and clean. Where are all the cars and vans and trucks? Where are the humans? Where's Ali? Asked the... They walked past the airport. All the planes were sitting on the runway. Not one of them took off into the air. They passed the mosque and heard the call to prayer, but no one came to pray. The cafes were shut, and so were the shops. And so were the schools. Ooh, but look, What's that? A playground. Well, I don't know about you, said the hare, but I'm going to have some fun. And with that, he took a flying leap over the wall and hopped onto a swing. Higher and higher he swung. Hey, come and play, he called. Well, after all that activity, they felt rather hungry and thirsty. I'm thirsty, said the honey badger. Oh, so am I, agreed the donkey. Even the camels were thirsty. And you know, camels don't get thirsty very often, do they? They can go a long time without water. They turned and looked at each other. Let's go to a cafe. And what do you think they had to eat in the cafe? Ice cream. Woohoo, delicious, said the honey badger. I feel ready for an adventure now. They set off again, and they soon came to a huge mall. They peered through the big windows. Oh, said the donkey. Here's a door. Inside the mall, they had lots of fun riding up and down the escalators. They tried on sunglasses and fancy hats and shoes with shiny buckles. They sprayed themselves with perfume. And they munched on popcorn. But we still haven't found Ali, said Well, I know where we'll find them, said one of the camels. I used to give rides to children on the beach. On the beach. Have you ever had a ride on a camel on the beach?
No.
The beach. They take their clothes off and lie in the sun. Take their clothes off and lie in the sun? The other animals thought this was a very strange thing to do. Look! Shouted the hedgehog. Horses! The horses slowed down and stopped when they saw the strange procession. Have you seen Ali? The littlest camel asked. But the horses hadn't seen Ali. They hadn't seen anyone, and they didn't care. Why are you looking for humans? They asked. We don't need them. With a flick of their manes, they galloped off. And what's this? Where are they now? At the beach. Well, when the animals reached the beach, they were disappointed to find it empty. No one was lying in the sun. No one was swimming in the sea. And no one was building sandcastles.
No ships.
No ships either, you're right. But there were lots of gulls and other seabirds on the beach. Let's ask if he knows where the humans are, suggested the gazelle, pointing at one of the gulls. What? Why are you looking for humans? The gull asked. I don't like them. Do you know why he doesn't like them? Can you imagine? They throw stones at me. Ali doesn't, said the littlest camel. They leave rubbish on the beach and it blows into the sea, said the gull. The water is much cleaner since the humans disappeared. And with that, he flew away. Oh, what are we going to do? Wailed the littlest camel. We'll find them, said one of the camels. They can't just have vanished into thin air. You're quite right. Who are they meeting now? A lion. And do you remember what this animal is? Remember? Oryx. Well done. Who said oryx? Well done. Very good. Look, cried the oryx. What is it? Asked the shy little sand cat. A lion, shouted the littlest camel. What? Cried the hare, and he hid in a bush. How do you know? Why did the hare hide in a bush? He was scared. What did he think the lion might do? Eat him, of course. Ali draws pictures of animals in a book, the littlest camel said. Where are you going in such a hurry? The lion asked. We're looking for the humans, the camel said. The lion couldn't believe his ears. We're better off without humans, he said. Look at me. I was king of the savannah back home, but I was caught in a trap and woke up to find myself behind bars, he told them. There wasn't much room to move, there was nothing to do, and humans came and stared at me all day long. So what do you think he's talking about? Where do you think he had been? Yes? Yes, but why would he have been behind bars with people staring at him? Yes?
Because they think he's dangerous and they.
Have you ever seen a lion? Who's seen a lion? Who's seen a lion in a cage? Okay, so where did you see a lion in a cage? In the safari or in a zoo? The safari, I think, is better because they have big spaces. But in the zoo, in the old zoo in Dubai, they didn't have much space at all. How would you like to be a lion pacing up and down all day with people staring at you through the bars? So the lion escaped during COVID. He got out and he doesn't want to see the humans. Okay, put your hands down for a minute. The desert animals were shocked. Sometimes they leave their rubbish in the desert, a camel said. One of our friends ate plastic bags and got sick. We carry heavy loads for the humans, said the donkey. We do too, said a camel, and we give them wool and milk and meat. What about me? Squeaked a voice. Two little paws parted the lion's mane and a small pointy nose appeared. What is it? A mouse. No, the parrot's there, but can you see the lion's mane? He's sitting on the lion's head. Let me introduce my friend Mouse, said the lion. What do you do for humans? The oryx asked in surprise. Mouse here was once a prisoner as well, the lion told them. Mouse nodded. A parrot who'd been listening from his perch in the palm tree flew down to join the conversation. And humans destroy our homes, he squawked. How do you think humans destroy? You can't think? What do parrots live in? Yeah, where do they like to build their nests? In trees. And what do humans often do to trees? Cut them down to make things, to build homes and ships and burn on fires. So they're destroying the parrots and the birds' homes. So do you think the animals want to find the humans? No, these animals don't, do they? They feel better off without them. Humans don't love the world anymore, the lion agreed. They don't listen to the earth's heartbeat. They don't feel its sadness. Do you think the earth might be sad if we don't treat it properly? That's what the lion thinks. That's his way of putting it. Do you know where they are? The honey badger asked. The lion nodded. So the lion knows where they are. Yes?
Because he's the king of every animal.
And he's very smart. Who said that? Smart and wise. Well done. Before I tell you, let me ask you a question. Would you like the world to change? He asked. Well, until now, the camels had accepted things as they were. But the lion and the mouse and the parrot had opened their eyes to things they hadn't known. Now that the humans aren't around, animals all over the world are taking back what humans have stolen from them, the lion told them. Shouldn't the humans be given a chance to change? Asked a camel. Oh, they've had many chances, the lion said. But where are they? A little voice asked. Where is Ali? Who do you think's asking that? The littlest camel. They're afraid, the lion told them. They're hiding. It's their turn to hide, just like we do when we're being hunted. What can humans be frightened of? Asked the oryx. What do you think the humans, why are they all inside their houses? What do you think they're frightened of? COVID. But the lion doesn't understand that. The lion shook his head. I don't know, he said. But whatever it is, it must be very frightening because they're all hiding inside their homes. The animals were surprised. Who would have thought that humans would be so frightened that they stayed indoors? There must be something terribly scary lurking about. They looked around nervously. What could it be? And why hadn't they seen it? Just think how different the earth would be if there weren't any humans, the lion said. The littlest camel looked sad. But I love Ali, and he loves me, she said. You'd better find him then, said the lion. But I'm going to enjoy my freedom while I can. The humans won't stay hidden forever. And with that, he wished them good luck and strolled away. So, here are the houses.
Oh, those kids are not bacteria. Don't get sick.
Okay. Soon they came to a street filled with houses. They looked through the windows and saw children and grown-ups staying inside, just as the lion had said. But they couldn't see the enemy. Can you see COVID? No, you can't see it, can you? And there was no sign of... Yeah, you can look at the bacteria with a magnifying glass. You're right. Yes, but a normal person with normal eyes can't see it, can they? Put your hands down a minute. And there was no sign of Ali. It was getting dark, and the littlest camel was tired. A big tear rolled down her cheek. Perhaps they were never going to find Ali. At last, they arrived at the gates of a huge palace. Wow. We won't find Ali here, said the littlest camel. It's much too grand. They were just about to turn away when the fox pointed to a sign. It had a picture of a camel on it. Some words were written beneath the picture. Do you think the animals can read? No. But they decided it was worth a try, and they pushed open the big black and gold gates. Another sign, called the little sand cat. They followed the signs until they arrived at a big low building. They walked round it, peering through the windows. And look what she saw. A picture. Before we look at this picture, a picture. Can you see what it says on the picture?
I miss you.
Who do you think's written that? Ali. Suddenly, the littlest camel gave a squeak of delight. Stuck on one of the windows was a beautifully coloured picture of a rainbow and a drawing of her. Look, a drawing of her. Although she couldn't read the words, she knew the picture had been drawn by Ali. How does she know? Yeah?
It's because she recognized the girl.
And do you remember she knew the lion because she'd seen Ali drawing pictures of lions in a book. So she knew he could draw, and she knew that was a picture of her. She looked through the window, and sure enough, there was Ali, fast asleep on a mattress. The littlest camel knelt down in the sand and snuggled close to the wall which separated her from her best friend. Before she fell asleep, she thought about all the things which the lion had said. She wished that the enemy, wherever it was, would leave as mysteriously as it had come. She wished that the humans would be given another chance. She whispered her thoughts and her wishes to Ali on the other side of the wall, and his head was filled with dreams. He dreamed of what life could be like if humans cared about the animals and birds and the trees and the plants which shared the earth with them. He dreamed about a world where humans cared about each other. He dreamed of better tomorrows and tomorrows and tomorrows. Now, what do you think you can do to help make the world a better place for all of us to live in, particularly the animals? What can we do? Do you think you can't do anything? Are you too small to do anything? Really? Don't think you can do anything? I think you can do something. What was one of the things that the lion mentioned? Do you remember? And the seagull mentioned it too. What do humans do? Throw rubbish. So what can you do? Don't throw rubbish and pick it up. Of course, you mustn't pick it up without rubber gloves, plastic gloves, or without a picky stick, a tweezy stick, whatever you call them. But you can...
That is destroying everything.
Exactly. So what should we have our water out of? Bottles that are used again and again and again and again.
Yes, not the plastic ones do it before they.
Absolutely, you're quite right. What about bags? Can you, yes, good idea. Can you tell your mummies and daddies when you go to the supermarket with them to take a bag like that one? Yeah? You can encourage them to use bags that you can use again and again and again. Then we won't have so much rubbish.
Then the humans get to put the bag like that one, not like that. When the humans just put in the floor and go.
Absolutely.
Don't care.
Exactly. So we have to care, don't we? We have to think about what we're doing and how are we helping the world or are we making the world a worse place? I think if each one of us tried to make the world a better place, we could all help, couldn't we? Yeah, we can, all of us help. Perhaps when
but we can work together to do it.
you can work together to do it. Good thinking. So maybe when you go back to the classroom, you could make a list of all the things you could do to help and try and remember some of the things which the lion and the seagull and the horses spoke about. Yes?
So when you clean the beach, you can make the beach a better place.
You can make the beach a better place. Exactly. Very good. So when you go for a picnic on the beach, don't leave anything behind. When you go for a picnic in the desert, don't leave anything behind.
You put it in the trash bin.
And if there isn't a trash bin, what if there isn't a trash?
Then they take all that and recycle it and to make something else.
You should recycle. There's another good word. Recycle, yes. And make things into new things. You're quite right. And if there isn't a bin on the beach or there isn't a bin in the deserts, because
you just pick it up and take it to a bin.
Yes, you take it to a bin or you take it home with you and get rid of it when you get home. Yeah? Yes?
Oh, take it home.
Just a minute. Yes.
I always make fun things in vacuum. I always vacuum in my home.
Do you? What a good boy. Will you come to my home and do mine for me?
No. Okay, well, I can.
Oh, I'd like that. Yes?
Is that the book about Dubai and some?
These are other books about Dubai, yes. These are about pearl diving and a little girl. This one's a Burj Khalifa. You're quite right. Yes, so we know it's Dubai, don't we? Because of the Burj Khalifa. Okay, I think we're going to have to finish now. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening and sharing my story with me. I hope you remember it. I hope you think about things that you can do to help the world, because we're not quite sure how COVID happened. And maybe if we look after the world a bit more carefully, and we're careful about what we eat and where we put things like rubbish, then maybe it won't happen again. We don't want it again, do we? We're not sure. So this is my story, okay? What I think might have happened and could happen. Thank you very much, everyone. Give yourselves a clap for listening so well.
And what do you need to say to Julia?
Thank you.
Can we give Julia a big clap, please?
Thank you.